And it's titled, "I'm an American Veteran. My fellow Americans, you need to get out of rural areas." Now, when I first read that, I thought it said, you need to get out to rural areas, because that's the message that we're always hearing. Oh, Democrats need to reach out to people in red states, and red states are largely rural. And even in states that vote blue, like here in Oregon, we've got, 3 cities of consequence in this state. There's Portland, which is, around 1 million people. There's Eugene, which is the university town. I don't know the population, but, it's substantial. It's not 1 million people, but it's substantial. And then there's Salem, which is the state capital, another, urban area. We've got 3 cities. And the counties surrounding those 3 cities reliably vote blue, and that's the majority of the population of the state. And then we've got all these red counties all across Oregon that vote Trump, Trump, Trump all the time. And they're the ones, by the way, that are filling up the hospitals in the 3 blue cities. But that's another rant. So anyhow, there's this constant drumbeat, this message, the person writing this thing over at Democratic Underground says, "Call me when Chuck Todd shows up to talk to voters in Pittsburgh instead of friggin' Beaver County, Pennsylvania." Exactly. I mean, the media is we're constantly seeing these messages. Oh, Democrats, you need to consider the poor, worried, fragile emotions of rural voters. Democrats need to reach out to the rural areas. Really? Max Rand B says, I would not be so pissed about this if just once since the creation of this country, anyone had suggested that rural America needs to talk to urban America. Just once. He says, maybe rural America should visit some inner city schools with their dilapidated buildings, broken desks, faulty electrical systems, broken plumbing and windows. Maybe rural America should come over and share a few pitchers of water with a Flint, Michigan family. And he goes on to talk about visiting poverty-stricken areas in cities that are poverty-stricken because of 400 years of banksters and real estate agents redlining cities and saying, oh, is this the only place you can live? He writes, maybe rural America can visit an area of 20,000 people that doesn't have access to fresh produce and groceries within 10 miles. Our food deserts. He said, maybe the problem isn't that Democrats aren't reaching out to rural America. Maybe the problem is that rural America doesn't give one beep about anything but rural America. He asked the question, why is this always a one-way street? Why is America expected to understand and empathize with rural America, he writes, but that expectation is never reversed. Keep in mind, 65% of America lives in cities. The vast majority of Americans live in our cities and the suburbs around them. And yet, because of the way that the Senate is set up and because of the way the Electoral College is set up, rural voters who represent a small fraction of the American population basically, control the agenda in Washington, D.C. and in state after state after state, and will have the ability, in all probability, in 2024, to even flip a presidential election. Is it time for Democrats to say, okay, we're tired, we're no longer reaching out to you guys. You can come visit us. You come to our cities for entertainment, you come to our cities for a vacation, you come to our cities to see Broadway plays and movies and things, you come to our cities for nice restaurants, you come to our cities to go shopping. Consider our needs for once, Republicans. Because the Republican base has, the Republican the Republican politicians have pretty much decided that people in cities don't count. They don't matter. And that's without even beginning to talk about, the racial dimension of all this, which is, I think, fairly obvious. Should Democrats reach out to Republicans in red states? Should Republicans reach out to Democrats? How do we put this country back together? I'll pick up your phone calls after the break.